Thank you for that awesome introduction. I am super excited to teach you today about the 10 reasons why you should adopt a more minimalistic lifestyle. All right, we're just gonna dive in. Here we go. Number 1, and actually before I start, I will let you know that I did this process through Marie Kondo's The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. And everybody heard of Marie Kondo? Yep, she's kind of become like big sensation. And it really actually is a life-transforming experience. So super excited to just watch. I'm gonna break it down for you, right? Because this kind of stuff can get overwhelming. So we're just gonna break it down into 10 steps of why you should totally adopt this as part of your lifestyle. Okay, here we go. Number 1. It helps to raise your level of consciousness. So what do I mean by that? This isn't just like a spring cleaning type of thing. This is a deeper level. What I love about Marie Kondo, because I can resonate with this, is she goes deep. Like, you gather all of your belongings. So not just your clothes that are in your closet and you know, here and there. It's like you grab every piece of clothing that you own in the house and you put it in one spot. And as you do this, you begin to see all of the stuff you have. It's kind of like you don't even realize all of this unconscious stuff, this material that has been laying around your house and in your life. So when you gather it together in one ginormous pile, like what's been happening with my family, then you really get to have the experience of diving deep. And her intention is, once you get all that stuff together, you realize it allows you to consciously notice how much stuff you have. Just how many rolls of floss do you have? Just how many tubes of toothpaste do you have? How many books do you actually have? And it forces you to get conscious about it. So it's a deeper state of learning about, you know, this home organization thing. It really gets at consciousness around being, you know, being a homeowner and the belongings that you have in your house. And I don't know about y'all, but I didn't ever have anybody really like teach me, like intentionally teach me about how to be the CEO of a household. So this is a fantastic tool for how to do that. And it's really the success of this approach is really about shifting mindset. It's not just about the stuff. It is about shifting how you think and your relationship to your stuff. It gets at the mind, the body, the spirit. So it is top of the line, really in-depth strategy and ability to focus. All right, here we go. Step 2, you get to learn about yourself. So what I love is that Marie Kondo opens this idea up that how you do anything is how you do everything. So when I went through the tidying process, I recognized that I was taking in other people's belongings. Now, I was the youngest of, I have 2 older sisters, 7 and 5 years older than me. We're all girls, we all liked clothes, and guess who got the hand-me-downs, right? Can anybody relate to that? Anybody else the youngest got the hand-me-downs? So I just developed a pattern of like, sure, yeah, I'll take that. And then it started to like, with my friends and my neighbors. And all of a sudden I realized as I was going through my stuff, as I'm doing this tidying process, especially with my clothes, I was taking on other people's belongings that they no longer wanted, that they were discarding. And she talks about that we very often, especially the younger siblings, we very often take in the things that people feel guilty giving away or that they don't want anymore. And so they want to kind of just pass them on to you. Well, I don't want that guilt energy in my life. What? No. And that's what I had like piles and piles of. So I really got to learn about myself and how not only do I take in other people's belongings, but I take in their emotional the way they felt about that stuff. So I take in other people's emotional stuff, psychological stuff. So really, as I was able to clear those belongings from my house and decide, does this really spark joy for me? I got to learn like what actually sparks joy for me and what I was just taking in other people's stuff. So you get to learn about yourself along the way. All right, step 3, or reason number 3, I should say. Get energized. This process allows you to actually cultivate energy. As you're tidying, as you're organizing, it's somehow magically the life-changing magic. It is. It magically gives you energy while you're doing it. While you're expending the energy, you're sometimes re-energizing yourself. And the reason is, like what I relate it to is as I'm getting rid of these objects in my life that don't spark joy, instead they maybe activate feelings of like my, all my sweatpants and my like clothes with holes in them and my old books and all these piles of paperwork that they're heavy. They feel heavy and they have this emotional, like depressing, these are the pants I wore after I had kids and I felt fat and blubby and yucky. And so deciding, no, this no longer sparks joy for me, and getting rid of it, it then allows for this like ethereal feeling, this airiness, this spaciousness. And it literally creates more space in your drawers, in your closet, in your home. So you can feel this old, heavy, stuck, stagnant energy moving out, and it just makes you feel kind of like alive and spacious. And I don't know about, how many in this room they kind of like to declutter and just kind of get stuff moved, keep it moving. You don't want to like hoard. And I have witnessed the older generations cling on to stuff, right? They're just hoarding stuff in the basement, and then the next generation of people have to go through all that stuff. Well, it feels great to just go deep right now and keep that stuff cycling through and moving through. And as you get into it, you start to feel how that energy builds on itself. It becomes a little bit addicting. All right. And right along with that, reason number 4 is you increase the square footage of your home. I'm not kidding. It's like when you go deep, when you gather all the books you have, all the kids' toys you have, and you assess, what do we really want? What do we really need? And you start discarding, I kid you not, I felt like my house doubled in size. It felt so much more spacious. The other thing is she teaches you how to take things vertical instead of horizontal, and somehow that vertical thing, like our shoes were all over the place. They were just in all different parts of our house. And what we found was, number 1, we had enough shoe racks to do this. Once we got all the shoe racks together, it was like, oh yeah, we have enough shoe racks to do this. And so we just made the shoe racks vertical, and all the shoes are they're just right there. And just knowing that all of that stuff is in its place and everything has a home base, it opens up other areas of the house, and it just makes your house feel that much more similar to how you do anything is how you do everything. So how you're feeling inside, where you're letting all this stuff go and you feel all this energy, it's the same with your home environment. It feels open, it feels spacious, it feels airy. A tip with this is, as you're doing it, designate one area of your house as my friend Anwin, who actually got trained by Marie Kondo herself. She was one of the first in the US, one of the first 50 people who got trained by Marie Kondo to do this method. She called it the staging area. So you want to create a staging area when you're in tidying process where you know that for a good chunk of time all this discarded stuff is going to go. So like the garage is a good place for this. Maybe if you have a basement, so that you can just, you're just going to dump. It's kind of the dumping ground. So you want to do that, and then from there, that's like phase 1, dumping ground within your house, and then from there, you figure out how to move everything on out. Okay, reason number 5. This process, as you're doing it, it empowers you to raise your standards, raise the standard of your lifestyle. It puts you into this decision-making process where you get to empower yourself. What actually sparks joy in my life, what actually makes me feel really good, what do I actually love? And I love the question, what sparks joy? If it doesn't spark joy, let it go. So for those of us who can relate to going to retail therapy, right? When we're feeling down, when we're feeling, like we need some kind of spark. So it allows you to, instead of just going to that space and just like grabbing some, going shopping and grab stuff just to try to feel better, it's really like, okay, let's be intentional about this. When I am out shopping, and if I am going shopping to just kind of give myself a little spark and feel better, what do I actually love? Like when I hold this dress or whatever it is, does it really spark joy, or am I just getting this to get a quick fix? And can I raise my standards to really only invest in what, meets that like high emotional, this is worth investing in because I love it, because it really sparks joy. The other piece is it really allows a letting go. So she suggests that even if you've engaged in the retail therapy and you bought a bunch of stuff and it's still got the tags on it and you haven't worn it, okay, who can relate to this? And then when that stuff is in the closet with the tags on it and you look at it and you haven't worn it yet and you feel the guilt, right? What she says is, let it go. You have permission to even let that thing go because it served you for that moment. Whatever you needed it for, it served you in that moment, and maybe that was its only purpose, and now it's okay to let it go. And just notice, just be mindful that that's what you did. It's self-awareness. And do I really need to do that next time? Or can I be more mindful? So it really helps you look at how you're maybe meeting some of those needs for the voids in your life. Maybe just those emotional behaviors that you're doing. And can I raise the standard? Can I find a healthier way to meet those needs? Oh yes, when you go to buy something, or if someone asks if you want something of theirs, pause and ask yourself, will this truly spark joy in my life? So getting over that habit, right? I was the one that was, oh yeah, I'll take it. And it was like, I'll take it and I'll look through it, and then if I don't want it, I'll move it on. Versus now it's like, nope, you know what? Like I can just evaluate that I can just let it go. It doesn't need to like go through me. If it's something that they didn't want, that's not sparking joy in their life anymore, I'm able to just let it go instead of sticking with my pattern of like, oh yeah, I should. It's not my job to take on other people's stuff. I don't have to say yes to that. I can stop and pause. Is this really going to spark joy in my life? I just went through this tidying process. Do I really want to bring that stuff in? Okay. Number 6, it somehow magically allows you to save money. So when you take this inventory of everything that you have and you see, like, it's like I discovered that we had a whole lot of things that we thought we needed. I mean, when you put all your batteries together, right, and you see, oh yeah, we actually do have a plethora of batteries. When you put all your, what else do we have big piles of? Like keychains and just cords and all of that stuff. When you actually get that stuff in one spot, it allows you to see, oh no, we actually don't need to, purchase any more of this stuff. We have enough. And it's much easier to, see what you need to actually go out and purchase. Like when you're making your list of what you need, when you have an inventory and you have decided on a home base for it that you can go back every time, you know where the batteries are now. You know where all your cords are now. You know where, all the paper products, the paper towels, the toilet paper, like, you know where all that stuff is going to live. It all has a home base. Your kids know it. You can say, hey, kids, as you're making your shopping list, they can go check on, because they know where all that stuff lives now too. Then you don't end up going and like rebuying all of the stuff that you actually don't even need. And it's just, you're so much more mindful about what you want in your life that you don't end up, when you're out shopping, you're just a much more mindful and intentional consumer. Do I really want to bring that into my space or not? Instead of the unconscious, right? We're back to the kind of consciousness thing here. Instead of just unconscious buying patterns, the more is more, it really, you get into the less is actually more. Less actually feels better. I had, my sister sent me a year or two ago a video called The Story of Stuff. And it talks about, and I'll share the link with those of you who are interested, it talks about how we got into this kind of consumerism, materialistic like cycle. And it's just kind of fascinating. I feel like, the pendulum has like been really extreme for a while now, for a few decades, and people are kind of waking up to like, actually maybe more isn't more. Maybe more is just kind of exhausting and takes a whole lot of energy to manage. And so this is kind of like bringing it back. And, I kind of went like extreme one way with it, but I think there's like a balancing point that we're getting to here. So it's really refreshing to even feel like I don't need to cling to this stuff and buy. So it kind of gets you out of that uber materialistic consumer mindset. And ultimately, as you kind of stay there and you see the value in that, you feel less inclined to just go out and spend. Tip here, if you're a Costco or Sam's Club shopper, like we have with our growing family, just make sure you're storing those bulk items together and they have a home base, because that's going to make it easier to like make that list and be mindful and intentional before you shop. Because the Costco, the Sam's Club, that's where you can you're buying stuff in bulk, right? So you got to make sure that you actually need it. All right. So reason number 7 to adopt a more minimalistic lifestyle is it allows you to enjoy being a homemaker more, right? Like I said, I was never intentionally taught this. I just kind of watched what my mom and my sisters and my in-laws even and my grandparents, you learn by observation. So it's, as gender roles are changing though, in our society, it's like women tend to beat themselves up and feel like we're treading water with the daily demands of keeping up with this CEO of the household role, because now we have the opportunity to be CEOs of companies, and so now we're trying to toggle both, and you can end up feeling like really guilty when you can't keep up with your home and all of the belongings that come with owning a home or even an apartment. And if you have kids and if you have pets, this stuff just starts to exponentially compile on itself, right? Who can relate to this? Yeah, I think most of us can. So it's not like, as a mom, it's not what I want to project to my kids is like a lowered self-esteem because I can't keep up with this hamster wheel of running a household. So to go through this process of just minimizing the less is more, the simple, it allows them to experience a household that isn't so packed with stuff and to just enjoy the spaciousness of our household. For me to enjoy feeling like I can manage the space because I have less stuff to manage. The other piece is, at some point I noticed that there's like all these little tiny things in my house, right? Like little toy pieces that don't fit with other things anymore, and little paper clips. All of this stuff. And the cognitive demand that goes along with managing the stuff, like it can make you feel like your wheels are spinning. So just to minimize the noise in your head, the list making, like all that stuff, to have less of it allows more spaciousness for focusing on what's really important, right? Like what do I want to be spending my time in my head thinking about? And so when you go through the deep, and really it's immersion. This is immersion learning again here, right? You're kind of immersing yourself in this process, and it can take a while. But when you do it, and you do it this thoroughly, you really, I mean, Marie Kondo's intention is, when you do this, you won't ever go back. You won't ever go back. So you will continue to roll this way going forward. So it's worth the investment, it's worth the effort to go deep once, even if it takes 6 months or a year to, complete the process. And she lays it out step by step by step. I mean, she's got it down to a science and an art. I mean, that's why she's the world's expert for this. So to really invest in this process up front, you won't go back, because it's in here now, it's in your cells. So it really has allowed me to continue to enjoy my home. And I did this process 2 or 3 years ago. So it's long-term, it is self-sustaining. And I feel like a more confident mom, I feel like a more confident wife, I feel certain that I know where stuff is, how much we have of it, what we need, and I can demonstrate that to my kids too. Like, this is how we live, kids. This is what you're capable of, and it allows for them to feel more clarity and more certainty about, like, where's our stuff? Where do I put my stuff? Versus, I mean, there's shows these days about hoarding, right? I mean, like, lots of people are in that state. So just think about growing up in that kind of environment versus what you can provide by minimizing. All right. Oh, I just want to note here too that, this process does allow you to enjoy and have confidence about being a homemaker, but please don't get yourself on that perfectionistic trap. It doesn't have to be perfect, it's a process. It's totally a process like everything else, and sometimes it feels like it's getting worse and messier before it gets better and cleaner and lighter. It really does. It kind of all gets unearthed first. It's an unearthing, and so it's like, whoa, it can be kind of overwhelming. And so it doesn't have to go fast, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's like, just get started, get in the flow of it, start to feel that energy of movement, and keep with it. All right. Reason number 8, it creates a sense of excitement and anticipation. Now, this might seem kind of weird, like how can just, being in your own home create a sense of excitement and anticipation? So this is what I mean by that. When I open my dresser drawers now, I only see the undies that I love, that spark joy, the socks that I love and spark joy, the leggings, the scarves, the whatever. Everything that I look at in my closet, in my drawers, it's the stuff that sparks joy, because that's the standard that I've held for myself. So it elevates your life to more of this vibe of joy. And the tip here is just to put the stuff that creates that, the most spark, the most joy. I mean, my lingerie was like hiding in the back of my closet. Well, that's not fun. That's not gonna raise, the libido. So that stuff kind of came more front and center, and it sparks some joy. It sparks, and even just like seeing the colors that I like within my clothing, within my wardrobe, like, it sparks creativity. I feel a little bit more fun and playful. So it really allows, and even for your kids, like, to go through this process with them, what are the toys that really spark joy, and which ones are you done playing with? So that when they go into the rooms, it's not just like this overwhelm, it's, what do I really love? And then they can actually, focus on it. I notice my kids, when after holidays and birthdays, and we've got more and more and more, that it's like they kind of get overwhelmed. It's just kind of this malaise of like too much. And I notice an elevation in their mood and their energy when we go through and do the deep clean and deep tidy. And that's one, especially with kids, where this is going to be an evolving process, because, you know, they're always getting their clothes are always becoming, you know, they're always outgrowing their clothes and getting new toys and going through their different developmental stages. So that one for sure, like, it's not a one and done kind of a process, especially with the kids. All right. And speaking of the kids, reason number 9 is that, and I've touched on this already, you get to teach your kids this skill. And, you know, up until this point, I think I'm seeing a shift now, but minimalism is not something in American society anyway that we have done a great job modeling for our kids. And so, you know, they have a constant stream of stuff and information coming at them, right? Like, think about the access that they have, the worldview that they have now, the platform of information, of ideas, of belongings, of stuff, all the places with the big box stores that they can go and see all the stuff. So if we don't teach them, you know, how to process all of that, that's a lot of cognitive demand. So it really is such a valuable gift and tool that somebody has spent her whole life figuring out how to do this and can help us, right? We've got to learn it first and do it first, and then we get to teach our kids this kind of lifestyle too. One of my aha moments was that when I had been, you know, trying to teach my kids how to organize and like where stuff should go, it was like my husband and I didn't even have that down. We didn't know, so we'd be telling them to go put their stuff away and they didn't know where to put it, and then we'd be frustrated with them. So it was like, hang on, Mom and Dad got to figure this out first, and then we can teach you. So it's, you know, created less kind of stress and overwhelm in our family life too. Okay, reason number 10 to adopt a more minimalistic lifestyle, because it's ultimately going to be good for the planet too. It's good for ourselves, it's good for the next generation, it's good for the planet. And it doesn't necessarily feel like that in the beginning because, right, you're unearthing all the stuff and you're discarding a lot of it. And that part of the process is, I think the next step of this is like, you know, maybe even working with somebody to figure out what is the best way to environmentally discard the stuff. I think that's probably coming. But once you do that part of it, again, it's so in your face how much stuff you've had that you didn't really need, or that wasn't sparking joy, or that wasn't really serving you, that it's almost like you can't go back. So it really teaches you how to live more sustainably, long term, and, you know, think about the impact of what you're buying and bringing into your home, and whether you really, you know, want it or need it. And so it's really one of those win-win-win situations, right? I mean, becoming more conscious about your belongings, it's good for your own sanity, it's good for your family life, it's good for it's good for the planet, it's good for all of us. And as we teach this and pass this down generation after generation, it's that much more of an exponential impact. So I invite you to really, you know, we're coming up on spring here, the spring cleaning thing, do it differently. You know, give yourself the gift of checking out this process. And if not Marie Kondo, if this isn't, you know, striking a chord with you, then there's other, you know, people and methodologies. There's many more tidying consultants out there. So just give yourself the gift of exploring what this whole minimalism thing has to offer you in your life. Thank you.